The council chamber stretched wider than any stadium on Earth. Its walls curved upward into a dome that seemed to touch the stars themselves. Though Sarah Chen knew they were deep inside a space station orbiting the galactic core, she had never felt smaller in her entire life. Around her, the representatives of 400 civilizations sat in their designated sections. The Vreks occupied the eastern quadrant, their chitinous bodies clicking and rattling as they communicated in their insect language. The Korthax delegation lounged in the southern area, their scales glinting under the artificial light, eyes cold and calculating. The Pelian collective floated in their water-filled tubes to the west, their tentacles moving in patterns that Chen's translator struggled to interpret. And there were dozens more, hundreds more, species she had only read about in hastily compiled reports during the 6-month journey to this place. Chen stood alone in the center speaking platform, her Navy uniform pressed crisp and clean, the flag of Earth on her shoulder. Behind her, a holographic display showed humanity's entire space fleet. All 47 destroyers, all 12 cruisers, all 3 carriers. It had taken humanity 60 years to build these ships after discovering the quantum fold drive in a crashed alien probe. 60 years of struggle, sacrifice, and the combined resources of every nation on Earth. The display rotated slowly, showing every angle of Earth's pride. In the silence of the chamber, Chen could hear her own heartbeat. Then the Vreks began to laugh. It started as a low chittering from one delegate, then spread through their entire section like wildfire. The sound was like 1,000 crickets finding something hilarious. Chen's jaw tightened, but she kept her face neutral. "Forgive us," the Vreks high speaker said, his mechanical translator turning his clicks into standard galactic common. "But we find this presentation quite amusing. You wish to join the Galactic Council with this fleet?" "Earth has achieved faster-than-light travel," Chen replied, her voice steady despite the heat rising in her chest. "We have developed quantum communications, artificial gravity, and energy shielding. We meet the minimum requirements for provisional membership as outlined in the Council Charter." A Korthax delegate rose from his seat, his massive frame towering even at a distance. "The minimum requirements were written 10,000 years ago, human. They assume a certain scale. Your entire fleet could fit inside one of our cargo haulers." Laughter rippled through multiple sections of the chamber. Not all species joined in, Chen noticed. Some watched with curiosity, others with what might have been pity. But the dominant powers, the species that controlled most of the galaxy's trade routes and military might, they laughed. "Earth's population stands at 14 billion, Chen continued, refusing to be derailed. "We have colonized 6 planets and 12 moons in our home system. We have functional quantum manufacturing, fusion power, and have achieved a Type 1 civilization status on the Kardashev scale." "How quaint," the Vreks high speaker said. "The Vreks collective spans 1,800 star systems. Our fleet numbers 47,000 warships, and we are not even among the Council's primary military powers." The display behind Chen changed without her command. She turned to see her modest fleet replaced by an image of the Korthax armada. 10,000 ships hung in space, each one dwarfing Earth's largest carrier. Dreadnoughts the size of small cities, battle stations that could crack planets, fighter swarms that numbered in the millions. "This is power, human," the Korthax delegate said. "This is what a real fleet looks like. You come before us with toys and expect to be taken seriously?" Chen took a slow breath. She had expected this. The diplomatic briefings had warned her that humanity would not be welcomed with open arms. But expecting something and experiencing it were different things. She thought of the billions watching back home, waiting to hear if Earth would be accepted into the galactic community. She thought of the scientists, the engineers, the pilots who had given everything to build those ships. "We do not expect to be taken seriously based on the size of our fleet," Chen said carefully. "We expect to be taken seriously because we earned our place here. Humanity went from nuclear fission to faster-than-light travel in less than 2 centuries. We survived 3 world wars, 2 asteroid impacts, and a dozen extinction-level threats. We are here because we refused to die." Silence fell over the chamber. For a moment, Chen thought she had reached them. Then the laughter started again, louder this time. The Pelian speaker's voice bubbled through the water in her tube. "Your species has spirit, we grant you that, very well. The Council will grant Earth provisional membership with conditions." A document appeared in the holographic space before Chen. She read through it quickly, her stomach sinking with each line. Earth would be granted the title of Council member, but with severe restrictions. They would be assigned to defend the Outer Rim territories, the regions of space considered too worthless for other species to bother with. Pirates operated there, rogue colonies, the occasional dimensional breach that spat out things best left unmentioned. Earth would pay an annual tribute of refined metals and rare elements. Earth would accept a council advisor, who would oversee all military operations. Earth would have no vote on council matters for a minimum of 50 years. Earth would provide detailed specifications of all technology and military assets to the council archives. And Earth would do all this or be denied trade rights, access to stable hyperspace lanes, and protection under council law. These terms are... Chen struggled to find diplomatic words. Restrictive. These terms are generous, the Korthax delegate said. Typically, primitive species are given protectorate status. They have no independence at all. We are offering you a chance to prove yourselves worthy. Think of it as a test that requires we give you all our technological data and pay you for the privilege. Precisely. The Vrex High Speaker seemed pleased she understood. Serve well in the Outer Rim. Keep the trade routes clear. Die nobly if you must. Perhaps in a century or two, your children's children will have earned a real voice in galactic affairs. Chen looked at the document again. She could refuse. Earth could declare itself independent, reject council membership, and try to survive on its own in a galaxy that suddenly seemed much larger and more hostile than she had imagined. But that would mean isolation, no access to the trading networks that could feed Earth's growing colonies, no protection if a hostile species decided humanity looked like easy prey, no chance to learn from civilizations that had been traveling the stars since before humans discovered fire. She thought about the Admiral back on Earth, waiting for her signal. They had discussed this possibility. Humanity had a saying about keeping friends close and enemies closer. They needed to be inside the council, even as the lowest member, even with these insulting terms. They needed to learn. They needed to see how the galaxy really worked. Earth accepts these terms, Chen said, each word tasting like ash. We will serve on the Outer Rim. Excellent. The Pelian speaker seemed genuinely pleased. We will assign you a sector immediately. It contains approximately 37 star systems. You will find them quite challenging. The display changed again, showing a map of the Outer Rim. Chen could see why no one else wanted this territory. It was a twisted maze of unstable hyperspace routes, rogue planets, and anomalies that made navigation a nightmare. 3 different pirate clans operated in the region. Something called the Devourers had been spotted there twice in the last decade. Whatever those were. Your advisor will arrive within the month, the Korthax delegate said. Commander Thexlar. He served with the Hegemony Fleet for 600 years before retiring. He will guide you. The word guide sounded more like control to Chen's ears, but she simply nodded. The Council welcomes Earth, the Pelian speaker said formally, though Chen could hear the condescension even through the translator. May you serve well and learn much from your betters. The session ended, and Chen was escorted from the chamber by a pair of small, furry aliens whose species she didn't recognize. They seemed sympathetic, which was something. As she walked through the corridors of the massive station, she passed viewing ports that showed the space outside. The Korthax fleet hung there like a metal storm. 10,000 ships arranged in perfect geometric formations, each one bristling with weapons that could glass a planet, each one representing technology and power that Earth couldn't match in her wildest dreams. A Korthax officer stood at one viewing port, watching his fleet with obvious pride. He glanced at Chen as she passed, and she saw the contempt in his reptilian eyes. To him, she was nothing. Earth was nothing. An amusing curiosity that would probably be wiped out by pirates within a decade. Chen stopped walking and turned to face the viewport. She stood there for a long moment, staring at the Korthax armada, memorizing every detail, the design of their hulls, the placement of their weapons, the way they positioned their shields. Impressive, is it not? The Korthax officer said. This is merely the 3rd fleet. We have 12 more just like it. Very impressive, Chen agreed quietly. Then she turned and walked away, her footsteps echoing in the empty corridor. The furry aliens led her to the docking bay where Earth's delegation ship waited. Her crew stood at attention when she arrived, their faces eager for news. She could see the hope in their eyes, the excitement at being accepted into the galactic community. We're in, she told them. Provisional membership. Outer Rim assignment, the hope dimmed but didn't die. They had expected this too. They were military personnel. They knew what it meant to start at the bottom. As the ship detached from the station and began its journey back to Earth, Chen sat in her quarters and composed her report. She detailed everything: the laughter, the contempt, the impossible terms, the vast fleets that made Earth's Navy look like children's toys. But at the end of her report, she added one line that wasn't meant for official records. One line that she knew would be read by the right people back home. The people in the secret facilities buried deep under mountains and ocean floors. The people working on projects that weren't in any official budget. "We have been underestimated," she wrote. "Proceed with Protocol Titan." She sent the message through quantum encryption, then deleted it from her terminal. The crew didn't need to know about that. The council certainly didn't need to know about that. Outside her window, stars streamed past as the ship entered hyperspace. Somewhere out there, the Korthax fleet continued its patrol, secure in its power. Somewhere out there, the council's representatives laughed about the primitive humans and their adorable little fleet. Let them laugh, Chen thought. Let them look down on us. Let them think we're nothing but janitors cleaning up their outer rim trash. Humanity had survived ice ages and meteor strikes. They had clawed their way up from caves to starships. They had looked at an impossible universe and decided to conquer it anyway. The galaxy would learn what that meant. But not today. Today, Earth would smile and bow and accept its humiliating assignment. Tomorrow could wait. Commander Thexlar arrived exactly 1 month after the council meeting, just as promised. His ship was a sleek Korthax cruiser that was 3 times the size of Earth's largest carrier. When he stepped off the boarding ramp at Luna Station, 2 full marine companies stood at attention to greet him. The Korthax advisor was old, even by his species standards. His scales had faded from vibrant green to a dull gray, and he moved with the careful precision of someone whose body had seen too many battles. But his eyes were sharp, and when he looked at the human marines, Chen saw calculation rather than contempt. "Commander Chen," he said, his voice a low rumble that the translator rendered into flat, emotionless speech. "I am told you accepted the council's terms without significant protest. This shows wisdom, or perhaps simply an understanding of your position." "We understand our position clearly," Chen replied. "We're here to do a job." "Good, then let me be direct. I have served as advisor to 6 different species over my career. 4 of them no longer exist. They failed to understand that the outer rim is not a punishment. It is a proving ground. Survive it and you earn respect. Fail, and no one will remember your species existed." He gestured toward the observation window where Earth hung like a blue jewel against the black. "You have a beautiful world. I would hate to see it become a memorial." Over the next week, Thexlar reviewed Earth's fleet capabilities with brutal efficiency. He watched training exercises and called them adequate but uninspired. He examined weapon systems and found them functional but outdated. He studied tactical manuals and declared them derivative of Rex doctrine from 3 centuries ago. "You learned from the probe you found," he said during one session, "but you learned only the basics. You fly like babies who just discovered walking." Chen swallowed her pride and asked, "Then teach us." Thexlar's eyes widened slightly. "You wish to learn? We wish to survive. If that means learning from someone who knows better, then we learn." Something shifted in the Korthax advisor's expression. Not quite respect, but perhaps the possibility of it. "Very well. I will teach. But know this, the outer rim will be your real teacher. I can only prepare you for the lessons it will give." Earth's fleet departed for the outer rim 3 months later. 47 destroyers, 12 cruisers, and 3 carriers, spread across 37 star systems that no one else wanted. Chen commanded from the carrier Resilience, coordinating patrols and responses to threats that came faster than anyone had anticipated. The first attack happened in week 2. Pirates hit a convoy near the Thresh system, destroying 2 freighters before the destroyer Wellington could respond. The Wellington drove them off but took heavy damage. 3 crew members died, Earth's first casualties in the galactic community. The second attack came 5 days later. Then the third. Then more, faster and faster, until Chen realized the pirates weren't random raiders. They were testing Earth's defenses, probing for weaknesses, coordinating their strikes. "They do this to everyone new," Thexlar explained when Chen brought him the tactical data. "The pirate clans watch when a new species takes over a sector. They test your response times, your tactics, your willingness to fight. And what happens if we fail the test? They destroy you completely. The outer rim is survival of the fittest. Show weakness, and you will be consumed. The destroyer Hastings was lost in month 4, ambushed by pirates using a tactic Earth had never encountered. They hid their ships inside the corona of a star, using the radiation to mask their signatures. When the Hastings came to investigate a distress signal, they struck from 6 directions at once. Chen watched the tactical recording a dozen times, watched her people die, watched the ship break apart under sustained fire. The pirates had better shields, better weapons, and they fought with a coordination that spoke of decades of experience. "We need to adapt," she told her captains during the memorial service. "We can't fight them the way we fight each other. This is a different kind of war." The fleet began to change, slowly at first, then faster as desperation drove innovation. They started using the asteroid fields for cover, learning to hide among the rocks like the pirates did. They modified their weapons, stripping down the heavy plasma cannons for lighter, faster pulse lasers that could track quicker targets. They abandoned formation flying and adopted pack tactics, using speed and numbers to overwhelm larger ships. They lost ships. God, they lost so many ships. The cruiser Defiant went down protecting a mining colony. The destroyers Archer and Nomad disappeared on patrol and were never found. The carrier Valiant took a hit that vented 3 decks to space, killing 200 crew before emergency bulkheads sealed. But they learned. Every battle taught them something. Every death bought knowledge with blood. Chen kept detailed records of every engagement, every tactic that worked and every one that failed. She shared this information across the fleet, creating a collective memory that grew with each passing month. "You fight differently now," Thexelar observed during the first-year anniversary. "Less like the Vrex, more like yourselves." "We're learning who we are," Chen said, staring at the tactical display where patrol routes glowed like veins across dark space. "We're learning what works for us." "Good. But know that you are still learning the wrong lessons." Chen turned to him sharply. "What do you mean?" "You are learning how to fight pirates. But pirates are not the real threat in this galaxy. They are just the beginning." He gestured at the star map. "Out there, beyond your little sector, real powers move. The Korthax hegemony, the Vrex collective, the Pelian unity. When they decide to fight, they do not send raiders and ambushers. They send fleets that darken the stars. They bring weapons that crack worlds, then teach us how to fight them. I cannot. That knowledge is restricted. I can only teach you what the Council permits." He paused. "But I can tell you this. Every species that has survived in this galaxy did so by finding their edge. The thing they could do that no one else could. The Korthax are relentless. The Vrex are numerous. The Pelians are patient. You must find what humans are." Chen thought about that conversation for weeks. What were humans? What edge did they have that could compete with species who had been traveling the stars for millennia? The answer came during a battle in the Chorus system. Year 2. Pirates had captured a civilian station and were holding 3,000 hostages. The standard council doctrine was to negotiate, pay the ransom, and let them go. Acceptable losses in the greater scheme of things. Chen refused. "We don't leave our people behind." She coordinated a simultaneous assault, using every ship in range. Destroyers breached the station's hull while Marines in powered armor stormed through the gaps. The battle lasted 6 hours and was brutal beyond anything they had faced before. But when it ended, the pirates were dead or captured, and 2,800 hostages were saved. The Council formally reprimanded Earth for unnecessary aggression. The surviving hostages sent Chen messages of gratitude that filled her quarters with enough data to crash her personal terminal. "You do not know when to quit," Thexelar said. "This is either your greatest strength or the thing that will destroy you." "Probably both," Chen agreed. Meanwhile, back in human space, something else was happening. Something the Council's advisor never asked about because he assumed it wasn't important. The civilian infrastructure projects that Earth had mentioned during the Council hearing were expanding faster than any peaceful development program should. Entire asteroid belts were being consumed. Massive construction facilities orbited Jupiter, drawing power from fusion reactors the size of cities. Strange energy signatures pulsed from the dark side of the moon. The Oort cloud, that distant shell of frozen rocks at the edge of the solar system, was being mined at rates that would have been impossible with Earth's known technology. When Thexler asked about it, human officials gave him the same answer they gave the Council. Infrastructure, civilian projects, building habitats for Earth's growing population. Nothing to worry about. He believed them because why wouldn't he? Earth was struggling just to maintain their fleet in the outer rim. They were losing ships faster than they could replace them. What threat could they possibly pose? Year 3 brought a new challenge. Something called the Devourers appeared in the Thresh system. Chen had heard the name but never seen them. When her sensors picked up the signature, every species in range fled. "What are they?" she demanded. "Run," Thexler said, his scales going pale. "Do not fight. Do not engage. Run." The Devourers were ships, but ships like nothing Earth had encountered. They were organic, living things that moved through space like sharks through water. They fed on metal and energy, consuming other ships to grow larger. 3 of them appeared in the Thresh system, each one the size of a city. Standard protocol was to abandon the system and let them feed until they moved on. But Thresh had a colony. 20,000 humans who had settled there only a year ago. 20,000 people who couldn't evacuate fast enough. Chen made a decision that would have gotten her court-martialed under normal circumstances. She took her entire fleet into the system, not to fight the Devourers directly, but to buy time. They ran interference, drawing the creatures away from the colony ships with bait drones and sensor decoys. It worked. Barely. The colony escaped with 90% of its population, but Earth lost 5 destroyers and a cruiser. The ships weren't destroyed in battle. They were consumed, absorbed into the living metal of the Devourers until nothing remained. "You saved them," Thexler said afterward, his voice strange. "You knew you would lose ships, and you did it anyway. Would you have abandoned them? I would have calculated the acceptable losses and acted accordingly. That is what survivors do." He looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. "You humans calculate differently." Year 4 and year 5 blurred together in an endless cycle of patrols, battles, and losses. But something was changing. The pirates started avoiding certain systems, the ones where Earth had posted ships. Word was spreading that humans didn't negotiate, didn't give up, and fought with a ferocity that made victory too expensive. The fleet had shrunk to 32 destroyers, 8 cruisers, and 2 carriers. But the ships that remained were different. They had been modified, upgraded, rebuilt so many times they barely resembled the originals. They flew differently too. The crews had developed their own tactics, their own style of warfare that combined human aggression with lessons learned from a dozen different species. Chen stood on the bridge of the Resilience looking at the tactical display. 5 years in the outer rim. 5 years of being laughed at, dismissed, and treated like janitors cleaning up the galaxy's trash. Her communications officer handed her a message from Earth. Just 3 words encoded in a cipher that only a handful of people knew. "Titan is ready." Chen read the message twice, then deleted it. She looked out at the stars, at the dark space that had become humanity's proving ground. The galaxy thought they knew what humans were. They thought Earth was a minor species barely worth noticing. They were wrong, but they wouldn't know that until it was too late. A new alert flashed on the tactical display. Pirates in the chorus system again. Chen smiled grimly. "All ships," she ordered. "Prepare for combat, let's go to work." The fleet moved out. Ships that had been forged in fire, crewed by people who had learned to survive in the hardest school the galaxy offered. They didn't know what was coming. They didn't know that everything was about to change. But they were ready. Humanity was always ready. The Galactic Council was in session when the first reports arrived. Representatives from 400 species filled the Great Chamber, discussing trade disputes and border negotiations. The same boring politics that had dominated galactic affairs for 10,000 years. Then every communication system in the chamber screamed at once, the Pelion. Speakers' tentacles jerked in alarm as holographic displays erupted across the chamber. Images from a dozen different star systems all showing the same impossible thing. Korthax warships, thousands of them, dropping out of hyperspace in coordinated strikes across the galaxy's core worlds. This must be an error, the Rex High Speaker chittered, but his translator couldn't hide the fear in his voice. The Korthax are council members. They would not. The display changed to show the Korthax Emperor himself, his massive form filling the screen. His scales were polished to a mirror shine, and his eyes held something that made even the other predator species recoil. Hunger, ambition, the absolute certainty of victory. "People of the galaxy," the Emperor said, his voice rolling through the chamber like thunder. "For 10,000 years the Council has maintained its peaceful order. For 10,000 years the strong have been held back by the weak. For 10,000 years we have pretended that all species are equal. Today that lie ends." Behind him the displays showed Korthax fleets engaging Council defense forces. Not just raiding, not just skirmishing. Full-scale invasion, hitting 60 systems simultaneously. Their ships moved with perfect coordination, executing maneuvers that spoke of decades of planning. The Korthax hegemony claims its rightful place as the rulers of this galaxy. The Emperor continued, "Surrender now, and you will be permitted to exist as client states. Resist and you will be destroyed. You have one standard week to decide." The transmission ended. Silence filled the chamber for exactly 3 seconds. Then chaos erupted. The Virex delegation was already pulling up military reports, their chittering reaching a fever pitch. The Pelians were communicating in rapid bursts of color through their tanks. The smaller species looked around in panic, trying to understand how this could have happened. "They have 50,000 ships," a military analyst announced, her voice cutting through the noise. 50,000. They have been building in secret for decades, hiding construction facilities in deep space, disguising their fleet expansion as merchant vessels. "How did our intelligence miss this?" the Pelian speaker demanded. "Because we were not looking," the analyst replied bitterly. "The Korthax have been council members for 8,000 years. We trusted them. We did not see the threat until it was too late." The council's defense coordinator pulled up a strategic map. Red markers showed Korthax forces spreading across the galaxy like a plague. Blue markers showed council military forces, scattered and unprepared. Green markers showed civilian populations caught in the invasion zones. "We need to coordinate a response," the coordinator said, trying to maintain calm. "Pool our fleets, establish defensive lines, protect the core worlds." "They have already taken the core worlds," the analyst interrupted. "Look at the map. They hit our shipyards first. Our command centers, our communication hubs. This was not an impulsive attack. This was surgical." A Vrex admiral pulled up fleet statistics. The Vrex Collective can mobilize 30,000 ships within a month. The Pelian Unity has 15,000. The smaller species combined can provide another 10,000. We outnumber them. Numbers mean nothing if we cannot coordinate, a Pelian military commander bubbled. And the Korthax have superweapons. Look at the reports from Theta Sector. They have planet crackers. They glassed 3 worlds in the opening hours. Horror swept through the chamber. Planet crackers were supposed to be banned technology. The Council had outlawed them 6,000 years ago. After the Great Extinction Wars, the fact that the Korthax had them meant they had been breaking galactic law for centuries. "We need every ship we can find," the defense coordinator said. "Contact all member species. Full mobilization. Even the provisional members." Someone pulled up the list. Most of the galaxy's species were already accounted for, but at the bottom of the list, added only 5 years ago, was one name that had been almost forgotten. Earth. The humans. The Vrex High Speaker sounded incredulous. What can they possibly contribute? They have maybe 30 ships left after their Outer Rim assignment. Probably less. "Every ship counts," the coordinator insisted. "Send them the mobilization order." The message was transmitted to Earth through standard channels. It was a simple command. All council members were to commit their full military forces to the defense of the galaxy. Failure to comply would result in sanctions, expulsion, and potential military action after the crisis ended. Earth's ambassador, a woman named Martinez who had replaced Chen 2 years ago, received the message at the human embassy station. She read it 3 times, then drafted a short reply. "Humanity acknowledges the mobilization order. We will discuss this matter with our government and respond within 48 hours. The coordinator expected immediate compliance. They got careful bureaucracy instead. Hours passed. The Korthax advanced. Star systems fell. The death toll climbed into the billions. Another message came from Earth. We are consulting with our civilian leadership. The matter is being discussed at the highest levels. We will respond soon. Soon turned into a day, then 2 days. The council grew frustrated, then angry. The Korthax were winning. They had captured a quarter of the galaxy's industrial capacity. Their superweapons had destroyed 7 inhabited worlds. The council fleet was being pushed back on all fronts. Messages to Earth became more demanding. Deploy your fleet. Honor your obligations. The galaxy needs you. Each message was answered with polite delays and vague promises of ongoing discussions. On the 3rd day, the Pelian speaker sent a direct communication to Ambassador Martinez. Your delays are unacceptable. We granted Earth membership in good faith. We gave you time to prove yourselves. Now we call in that debt. Send your ships immediately or face the consequences. Martinez's reply was calm and professional. We understand the urgency of the situation. However, Earth's government requires time to properly evaluate the strategic situation and determine the best course of action. We will respond within 24 hours. What is there to evaluate? The speaker demanded in a follow-up message. The galaxy is under attack. You either help defend it or stand aside. We are evaluating many factors, Martinez replied, including the question of why we should commit our forces to defend a council that has treated us as second-class members since we joined. That message caused an uproar. How dare the humans make demands at a time like this? How dare they negotiate when the galaxy was burning? The council sent formal threats. Earth would be expelled, sanctioned, potentially targeted for military action once the Korthax were defeated. Martinez sent one word in response. Noted. Meanwhile, the Korthax continued their advance. The Vrex lost their primary shipyards. The Pelians saw 2 of their home worlds occupied. The smaller species were surrendering in droves, seeing no hope of victory against such overwhelming force. The Council's war room became a place of desperation. Admirals argued over tactics. Politicians tried to forge alliances with neutral species. Analysts ran simulation after simulation, each one showing a Korthax victory within 6 months. What about the humans? Someone asked during one particularly bleak meeting. Have they responded yet? Still nothing, the coordinator said. Just more delays and excuses. Cowards, a Korthax defector spat. The Korthax species was not unified in this war. Many had opposed the Emperor's plans. They hide behind bureaucracy while braver species die. Perhaps we were wrong to admit them, the Vrex High Speaker said bitterly. A species that will not fight when the moment demands it is not worthy of Council membership. On the 5th day, as the Korthax fleet prepared to assault the Council's secondary capital world, Earth's response finally came. It was brief. Just one word that appeared on every Council communication system simultaneously: negative. The coordinator stared at the message in disbelief. Negative? They are refusing the mobilization order? Apparently, the analyst said, pulling up the full transmission. There was no explanation, no justification, just that single word hanging in space like a slap in the face. The Council erupted in fury. How dare they? After everything the Council had done for them? After giving them membership, trade rights, access to hyperspace lanes? Earth was betraying the galaxy in its darkest hour. Messages flooded toward human space. Threats, insults, promises of retaliation. The Council would remember this. After the war, there would be a reckoning. Earth would pay for its cowardice. Martinez received all of these messages and filed them away without response. In the embassy station, she stood at a viewport looking toward Earth, invisible at this distance, but she knew it was there. Her home, her people. She had been in the military once before becoming a diplomat. She had served in the Outer Rim, watching her friends die to protect systems the Council didn't care about. She knew what humanity had sacrificed for their place in the galactic community, and she knew what was coming. A private message arrived on her secure terminal. Just 3 words from Admiral Chen, who now commanded something much more important than a carrier in the Outer Rim. It is time. Martinez allowed herself a small smile. The Council thought humanity was weak, thought they were cowards hiding while braver species fought. The galaxy was about to learn how wrong they were. She opened a bottle of Earth whiskey she had been saving for a special occasion, poured herself a drink, and waited. In the Korthax-occupied territories, the Emperor celebrated his victories. 50,000 ships under his command, a quarter of the galaxy conquered in just 5 days. The council was in disarray. Victory was certain. He gave orders to prepare for the final assault on the council's capital world. A massive gathering of his fleet, 10,000 ships in one system. A show of force that would break any remaining resistance. They would broadcast the victory across the galaxy. All species would see the Korthax triumph and know that resistance was futile. The Emperor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, and looked out at his assembled fleet. 10,000 warships, each one a masterpiece of destructive capability, the largest gathering of military force in galactic history. He had won. The galaxy was his. Then the sensors began screaming and everything changed. The Korthax Emperor's celebration was supposed to be broadcast across the entire galaxy. Every species would watch as he claimed victory over the Council's capital world. Every civilization would see the power of the hegemony and understand that resistance was pointless. 10,000 Korthax warships hung in orbit above the planet, arranged in perfect geometric patterns that demonstrated military precision. The Emperor's flagship Eternal Dominion sat in the center like a king on a throne. The ship was 20 kilometers long, bristling with enough weapons to destroy a fleet by itself. The Emperor himself stood on the bridge, his polished scales reflecting the light of 1,000 displays. His admirals surrounded him, offering congratulations and praise. The mood was triumphant. They had crushed the Council's resistance in every major engagement. The galaxy was theirs for the taking. Begin the broadcast, the Emperor commanded. Let every world see this moment. The transmission started. Cameras captured the massive Korthax fleet in all its terrible glory. The Emperor began his speech, words carefully crafted to inspire fear and obedience. He spoke of the new order he would establish, the peace that would come through Korthax rule, the benefits of submitting to his authority. He was 3 minutes into his speech when every sensor in the system screamed at once. The Emperor stopped mid-sentence. Around him, officers rushed to their stations, confusion spreading across the bridge like wildfire. Alarms blared. Warning lights flashed red. Report! The Emperor roared. My lord, the sensor officer said, his voice shaking. We are detecting a massive gravity distortion. Something is entering the system. How many ships? Not ships, my lord. Something else. The readings do not match any known vessel signature. The mass alone is... The officer stopped, staring at his display in disbelief. That cannot be correct. What cannot be correct? The mass reading, my lord. It is showing something the size of a moon entering the system. The Emperor turned to the main view screen, which had automatically switched from the broadcast feed to tactical display. Space itself seemed to ripple and tear as something emerged from hyperspace, not with the gentle transition of normal FTL travel, but with the violent birth of something too massive to move quietly. For a moment, the bridge crew thought their sensors had malfunctioned. The thing appearing in their system was so large it defied comprehension. It was not a ship. It was a construct. A mobile station. A floating city made of metal and fury, 847 kilometers long. The Titan class had arrived. Silence fell across the Korthax bridge. Officers stared at their screens, unable to process what they were seeing. The construct hung in space like a nightmare made real, its surface covered in weapon platforms that numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Energy readings spiked so high they broke the measurement systems. Power signatures indicated something like a contained star burning at its core. The Emperor's flagship, his mighty Eternal Dominion, looked like a child's toy next to it. Open a channel, the Emperor said, his voice tight with barely controlled fury. Identify yourself. The response came immediately, broadcast on every frequency simultaneously. Audio and visual, impossible to ignore or block. The face that appeared on every screen was human, a woman with gray-streaked hair and admiral's insignia. Her expression was calm, almost pleasant. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force, she said. We heard you were having some trouble. The Emperor's eyes widened in recognition. The human who had stood before the Council 5 years ago. The one they had laughed at. The one with the pathetic fleet of toys. You dare to interfere in this conflict? The Emperor snarled. This is not your concern, human. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. Chen's expression did not change. I have received my orders from Earth's government. We have been asked to assist the Galactic Council in defending against your illegal invasion. I am authorized to use all necessary force to accomplish this mission. All necessary force? The Emperor laughed, though it sounded forced. You have one ship. One. I have 10,000 surrounding this world and 40,000 more across the galaxy. You cannot win. You cannot even survive. You are partially correct, Chen acknowledged. This is not the only Titan-class vessel, but it will be sufficient for this engagement. She gestured off-screen, and the tactical display zoomed out to show the Korthax fleet positions, all 10,000 ships perfectly arranged, weapons charged and ready. You have 60 seconds to surrender, Chen said. After that, I will consider you hostile and act accordingly. The Emperor's rage exploded. Fire all ships! Destroy that thing! 10,000 warships opened fire at once. The barrage was beyond comprehension. Plasma beams, missile swarms, particle cannons, and energy weapons that had never been seen by the Council. The combined firepower of the Korthax fleet, enough to crack a planet's crust or boil an ocean. The weapons hit the Titan-class shields and splashed like rain. On the Titan's bridge, Chen watched the defensive systems handle the assault with ease. The shields did not even flicker. The energy readings barely registered the attack. The Korthax fleet's most powerful weapons were nothing more than a light breeze against a mountain. Shields holding at 99.7%. Her tactical officer reported. No damage to any systems. The attack was insufficient to trigger secondary defensive protocols. Chen nodded. Return fire. Point defense systems only. I want to make this quick. The Titan class did not move. It did not need to. Along its massive hull, weapon platforms came online. Not the primary weapons. Not the fleet killer systems that could vaporize capital ships. Just the point defense systems. The ones designed to shoot down missiles and fighters. They were sufficient. Light erupted from the Titan's surface. Thousands of point defense lasers. Each one targeting a different Korthax ship. The targeting was so precise it seemed impossible. Every shot hit. Every shot found a critical system. The first Korthax ship exploded 3 seconds after the Titan opened fire. Then another. Then 10 more. Then hundreds, the explosions spreading through the fleet like a contagion. The Korthax ships tried to retreat, tried to maneuver, tried everything they had trained for in centuries of warfare. Nothing worked. The Titan's targeting systems tracked every ship simultaneously. No evasion was fast enough. No shield strong enough. On the Eternal Dominion, the Emperor watched his fleet die. Ships that had taken decades to build were reduced to expanding clouds of debris in seconds. Crews that had served him faithfully were vaporized before they could even scream. His perfect geometric formations dissolved into chaos and death. Impossible, he whispered. This is impossible. All ships, emergency hyperspace jump, his admiral ordered. Scatter! Get out of range! Some ships tried. Their hyperspace drives charged, preparing to flee. The Titan's weapons adjusted, targeting the drive system specifically. Ships that were trying to escape exploded before they could jump. Those that managed to enter hyperspace found their coordinates scrambled, sending them spinning into empty space far from any safe harbor. 6 minutes after the Titan opened fire, the battle was over. 10,000 Korthax warships, the pride of the hegemony, the largest fleet ever assembled in one location, had been reduced to wreckage. Not defeated, not routed, annihilated. The Eternal Dominion survived only because the Titan had spared it. Chen's face appeared on every screen in the flagship, looking directly at the Emperor. Your fleet is destroyed, she said calmly. Your invasion has failed. You have one chance to end this war. Order your remaining forces to stand down immediately. Surrender yourself to Council authority. If you refuse, I will begin systematically destroying every Korthax military asset in the galaxy. The Emperor's scales had gone pale. You would commit genocide? No, I would dismantle your military. Your civilian population will not be harmed, but your ability to wage war will end. The choice is yours. The Emperor looked around his bridge. Officers who had been confident minutes ago now looked terrified. His admirals would not meet his eyes. His great conquest, his glorious new order, had been destroyed by a single human ship. How, he asked, his voice broken. How did you build this? Chen's expression softened slightly. You had 5 years to ask that question. 5 years while we fought in the Outer Rim. 5 years while your council dismissed us as primitives. You never asked because you never thought we mattered. That was your mistake. She gestured off screen again and the tactical display changed. 7 more Titan-class vessels appeared on the map, positioned at different points across the galaxy. each one near a major Korthax fleet concentration. "These are my sisters," Chen said. "Each one capable of what you just witnessed. They are moving toward your occupied territories now. You have invaded 47 systems. I can liberate them all within a week. Or you can surrender and we can end this without further bloodshed." The Emperor stared at the display. 8 of these impossible ships, each one a fleet unto itself, each one capable of destroying everything he had built. He had spent decades planning this invasion, centuries building his forces, and humanity had ended it in minutes. "I surrender," he said, the words like poison on his tongue. "I order all Korthax forces to stand down." Chen nodded. "Wise choice. Remain in orbit. A Council security force will arrive to take you into custody." She paused. "And Emperor?" "For what it's worth, you did manage to unite the galaxy. Just not the way you intended." The transmission ended. The Titan class hung in space, a monument to human capability and a warning to anyone who would threaten the galactic order. On the Council station, the broadcast had been watched by every species simultaneously. The chamber was silent. No one spoke. No one even moved. They had watched 10,000 ships destroyed in 6 minutes by a species they had dismissed as insignificant. The Pelian speaker was the first to find her voice. "Contact Earth immediately. We need to discuss their fleet capabilities." "Their fleet?" The HFY speaker said faintly. "That was not their fleet. That was one ship. One." The sensor officer pulled up scan data, her hands shaking. 8 confirmed Titan-class vessels. "But that is not all. I am detecting additional signatures throughout human space. Smaller vessels, but still massive by our standards. They have been building an entire navy while we thought they were struggling to maintain their outer rim patrol." The coordinator pulled up Earth's tactical capabilities, or at least what they thought they knew. It was all wrong. The data showed 47 destroyers, 12 cruisers, 3 carriers. That was humanity's fleet 5 years ago. "Update the database," he ordered. "I want to know everything about Earth's true capabilities now." The analyst worked quickly, pulling together every piece of data they had on human activities over the past 5 years. The civilian infrastructure projects, the power consumption rates, the asteroid mining operations, the strange facilities on the dark side of Luna. "They have been building for 5 years," the analyst said slowly. "Every insult we gave them, every dismissal, every time we treated them as inferiors, they used it. They made us think they were weak while they built the most powerful fleet in galactic history." "How many ships?" the coordinator asked. The analyst pulled up the latest data. "At least 8 Titan-class vessels. But that is just the beginning. I am detecting fleet signatures throughout human space. Capital ships, carriers, support vessels. If these readings are correct, Earth now possesses approximately 10,000 warships, each one built with technology they did not have 5 years ago. 10,000 ships. The same number the Korthax had brought to their invasion. Except humanity's ships incorporated lessons learned from every species in the galaxy, refined through 5 years of constant warfare in the outer rim. The HFY speaker made a sound that might have been laughter or despair. "We taught them. We sent them to the outer rim to prove themselves, and instead we gave them the perfect training ground. They learned from every fight, adapted from every loss, and we never paid attention because we thought they did not matter. They matter now," the Pelian speaker said quietly. "The galaxy's power structure has just changed, fundamentally and forever." The Korthax Empire collapsed in 33 days. 7 Titan-class vessels moved through occupied space like surgical instruments, dismantling military installations and liberating captured worlds. The Korthax forces, already demoralized by their Emperor's surrender, offered minimal resistance. Most surrendered the moment a Titan class appeared in their system, but the Titans were not alone. As they moved through Korthax territory, the rest of Earth's fleet revealed itself. 10,000 warships emerged from hyperspace, each one bearing the blue and white colors of the Earth Defense Force. They were not the modified patrol ships from the Outer Rim. These were purpose-built warships, sleek and deadly, incorporating technology from a dozen different species refined through human innovation. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity liberated system after system. The speed was unprecedented. The efficiency was terrifying. Earth's fleet moved with a coordination that suggested years of planning and preparation. Because that was exactly what it was. Admiral Chen commanded from her Titan, But she was not the only human flag officer. 7 other admirals commanded the remaining Titans, and beneath them were commodores and captains who had all survived the Outer Rim. They knew how to fight, they knew how to win, and they knew how to make a statement. The statement was clear. Earth had arrived as a major power, and the galaxy would need to adjust. The Council called an emergency session on day 15 of the liberation. Representatives from every species gathered in the Great Chamber, but the mood was different from 5 years ago. There was no laughter now, no mockery, just careful calculation and barely concealed fear. Admiral Chen attended in person, leaving her Titan under the command of her executive officer. She walked into the chamber wearing her full dress uniform, medals from 5 years of Outer Rim combat on her chest, the same flag of Earth on her shoulder that had been there during her first visit. The Pelian speaker opened the session. Admiral Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Council, we wish to express our gratitude for Earth's intervention against the Korthax invasion. Your assistance has saved countless lives and preserved the Council's authority. You are welcome, Chen said simply. We would like to discuss Earth's military capabilities, the Virex High Speaker said, trying to sound diplomatic rather than terrified, specifically the Titan-class vessels and your fleet composition. This information should have been registered with the Council as per the membership agreement. Chen smiled slightly.
The membership agreement required us to provide information about our military assets. We did.
5 years ago, we registered 47 destroyers, 12 cruisers, and 3 carriers. That information was accurate at the time. But you built an entire fleet in secret, a minor species representative protested. 8 Titan-class vessels, 10,000 warships. That level of construction should have been impossible to hide. We did not hide it, Chen replied. We reported all construction as civilian infrastructure projects, which was not entirely false. The Titans were built in civilian shipyards. The fleet was constructed using civilian resources. We simply did not specify what kind of infrastructure we were building. The chamber erupted in angry chatter. Several species accused Earth of deception. Others demanded that humanity be sanctioned for violating the spirit of Council law. A few suggested that Earth's fleet should be disbanded or placed under Council authority. Chen waited for the noise to die down. When it did not, she simply stood there, patient and calm. Eventually, silence fell, not because people stopped talking, but because they realized she was not responding to their outrage. Are you finished? She asked when the chamber was quiet enough to hear her. You violated Council trust, the Korthax defector said bitterly. You played games while pretending to be weak. No, Chen said, her voice sharp. We were weak. 5 years ago, our entire fleet could have been destroyed by any major power in this chamber. We came to you asking for membership and you laughed at us. You gave us the most dangerous assignment in the galaxy and told us to prove ourselves worthy, so we did. She pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's losses in the Outer Rim. The names of every ship destroyed, every crew member killed. The numbers were staggering. We lost 15 ships in 5 years, she continued. Over 4,000 personnel. We fought pirates, raiders, devourers, and a dozen other threats that the Council considered too minor to address. We bled for this galaxy while you dismissed us as janitors cleaning up your trash. That was the assignment given to all provisional members, the Pelian speaker said. It is not personal. It is simply how we determine worthiness. And did we prove ourselves worthy? Chen asked. Did 5 years of service earn us anything? Or were we always going to be second-class members, paying tribute and following orders while the real powers made decisions? No one answered. They all knew the truth. Earth would have been kept in provisional status for decades, maybe centuries. That was how the system worked. The established powers maintained control. New species were kept weak and dependent. The Korthax invaded, Chen continued. Your core worlds fell. Your fleets were destroyed. And what did you do? You sent us a mobilization order. Not a request for assistance, not a plea from allies, an order, as if we were your servants obligated to die for your failures. The entire galaxy was at stake, the coordinator protested. And we saved it, Chen said flatly, but not because you ordered us to. We saved it because we chose to. Because despite how you treated us, we decided that a galaxy under Korthax rule would be worse than the current system. That is the only reason we acted. She gestured at the display, changing it to show the 8 Titan-class vessels positioned across the galaxy. These ships represent 5 years of work. 5 years of every resource Earth could gather. 5 years of the finest minds and the bravest workers pushing the boundaries of what we thought possible. We built them in secret not because we planned to deceive you, but because we knew you would stop us if you knew. You would have seen them as a threat. You would have demanded we limit our capabilities or face sanctions. So we stayed quiet and let you underestimate us. And now you have the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, the HFY speaker said. What do you intend to do with that power? Chen looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many representatives as she could. That depends on you. Earth wants what we have always wanted. Respect. A real voice in galactic affairs. The chance to contribute as equals rather than servants. And if we refuse? Someone asked. Then we will leave. Chen said simply. We will withdraw from council space. We will defend our own territory and trade with whoever wishes to trade with us. The galaxy can continue without Earth's involvement. Panic rippled through the chamber. Earth withdrawing meant losing access to their technology, their military support, the Titan-class vessels that were currently maintaining peace in Korthax space. More importantly, it meant a major military power operating independently, outside council authority. That would be unwise, the Pelian speaker said carefully. The galaxy needs unity, especially now after the Korthax invasion has revealed our vulnerabilities. Then offer us real unity, Chen replied. Not the pretend version where we pay tribute and follow orders. Real membership. Equal voice. Equal representation. The council has operated under its current structure for 10,000 years, the HFY speaker said. What you are asking would require fundamental changes to our system. Yes, Chen agreed. It would. But your system failed. The Korthax invasion proved that. You were so focused on maintaining the old order that you did not see the threat growing inside your own ranks. You need to change, not just for Earth's benefit but for everyone. A smaller species representative stood. Chen recognized her as one of the delegates who had shown sympathy during Earth's first council appearance. Admiral Chen speaks truth. The current system favors the powerful and exploits the weak. Many of us have felt this for centuries, but lacked the strength to challenge it. Perhaps now is the time for reform. Other voices joined in. Not all of them, not even most of them, but enough to show that Chen's words had found an audience. The established powers looked uncomfortable. They had maintained control for so long that the idea of actually sharing it felt dangerous. The debate continued for hours. Chen stood through all of it, answering questions and deflecting accusations. She did not threaten. She did not bluster. She simply presented the facts and let the council draw their own conclusions. Finally, as the station's artificial day cycle turned toward evening, the Pelian speaker called for a vote, not on Earth's membership status that was already established, but on reforming the council structure to give provisional members full voting rights after completing their assigned duties. Earth had completed their duties. They had survived the Outer Rim. They had saved the galaxy from invasion. By any measure, they had earned full membership. The vote was close. Many of the established powers voted against the change, unwilling to dilute their authority. But the smaller species voted overwhelmingly in favor. They saw Earth's success as a precedent, a path for themselves to achieve real equality. When the votes were tallied, the motion passed by a slim margin. The council recognizes Earth as a full member, the Pelian speaker announced, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. Your tribute obligations are ended. Your advisor will be recalled. You will have equal representation in all council matters. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Thank you. Earth accepts this recognition. There is one more matter, the HFY speaker said. The Titan-class vessels. Their existence has changed the military balance of the entire galaxy. We would like to establish protocols for their deployment and use. No, Chen said simply. No? Earth's military is under Earth's command. We will coordinate with council forces when our interests align. We will defend council members when they are under threat, but we will not place our assets under council authority. That is non-negotiable. The chamber stirred uneasily. Chen could see some delegates considering whether to press the issue. Whether they could force Earth to comply. She waited to see if anyone would be foolish enough to try. That is acceptable, the Pelian speaker said after a long pause. But we would like to establish communication protocols so that we can coordinate in future crises. That we can do, Chen agreed. The session ended shortly after. As delegates filed out, many of them made a point of approaching Chen. Some offered genuine congratulations. Others wanted to discuss trade agreements or military cooperation. A few were clearly trying to assess whether Earth would be a reliable ally or a future threat. Chen handled each interaction with diplomatic grace, making no commitments but leaving no one feeling dismissed. This was the political battlefield now, and she was learning to navigate it just as she had learned to fight in the Outer Rim. Commander Thexler approached her near the end. The old Korthax advisor looked tired and sad. His species had been defeated, his emperor imprisoned, and his government was in chaos. But he walked with dignity. "Admiral," he said, his translator rendering his voice with respect rather than condescension. "I underestimated you. I underestimated your entire species." "You taught us well," Chen replied. "Everything you showed us about fleet tactics and strategy we used. We just adapted it to our needs." "I taught you the basics," Thexlar said. "What you built from those basics is beyond anything I imagined. I should have paid more attention to those construction projects. Would you have stopped us if you had known?" The old warrior considered the question. "I do not know. Perhaps. Or perhaps I would have seen what you were becoming and warned the council to treat you better. We might have avoided much bloodshed if they had simply given you the respect you deserved from the beginning." "Perhaps," Chen agreed. "But then we would not have learned what we are capable of. The Outer Rim forged us, made us stronger. In a way, the Council's dismissal was the best thing that could have happened to humanity." Thexlar made a sound that might have been laughter. "Be careful with that power, Admiral. The galaxy will fear you now. Fear can make even peaceful species dangerous." "Then we will have to prove that their fear is unnecessary," Chen said. "We did not build the Titans to conquer. We built them to survive, to ensure that no one would ever dismiss us again, to guarantee that Earth would have a voice in our own future." "I hope that remains true," Thexler said. "Power corrupts, as my emperor demonstrated. I would hate to see humanity fall into the same trap." "We will remember where we came from," Chen promised. "We will remember being the weakest species in the chamber, being laughed at and dismissed. That memory will keep us honest." Thexler nodded slowly. "Then perhaps there is hope for the galaxy after all." Chen left the council station that evening, returning to her Titan. From the bridge, she looked out at the stars and thought about everything that had changed. 5 years ago, Earth had been a minor species, barely worth noticing. Now they were a major power, one of the strongest military forces in the galaxy, but with that power came responsibility. The galaxy would be watching Earth now, judging every action, looking for signs of aggression or expansionism. Humanity would have to prove that they could be trusted with their new capabilities. A message came through from Earth. The civilian government wanted a full report and recommendations for how to proceed. Chen smiled. The politicians were nervous about the attention Earth was receiving. They wanted to make sure humanity did not provoke any new conflicts. She composed her reply carefully. Earth should continue as they had been, honest, direct, and willing to defend themselves and their allies. They should not seek to dominate the galaxy, but they should never apologize for their strength. They had earned their place at the table, and they would maintain it. As Chen sent the message, she thought about the other species in the galaxy. The ones who had dismissed Earth 5 years ago. The ones who had laughed at their modest fleet and given them the worst assignment possible. The galaxy had learned a lesson about underestimating humanity. They had learned it thoroughly and painfully. Chen hoped they would remember it, because humanity had learned lessons too, about survival, about adaptation, about the importance of never showing your full hand until the moment demanded it. Those lessons had been bought with blood and sacrifice. Earth would not forget them. The galaxy's power structure had changed. Old certainties were gone. New relationships would need to be forged. It would be a time of uncertainty and adjustment. But through it all, humanity would endure. They always had. They always would. That was what it meant to be human. To survive, to adapt, to never give up no matter how impossible the odds seemed. Admiral Chen looked out at the stars and felt something she had not felt in 5 years. Hope. Not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. Maybe this was the beginning of something better. A galaxy where strength was respected but not worshipped, where new species could rise based on merit, rather than waiting centuries for permission. Maybe the Korthax invasion, despite its horrors, had been exactly what the galaxy needed. A wake-up call that the old system was broken and needed fixing, or maybe Chen was being optimistic. Time would tell. But whatever came next, Earth would be ready. They had Titans in orbit and a fleet to match any power. They had proven themselves in the hardest way possible. And they had something that many older species had lost over millennia, of comfortable existence. They remembered what it was like to fight for survival. And they would never forget.
Captain Marcus Reed stood frozen on the bridge of the UES Defender, his eyes fixed on the massive screens showing the impossible. 12 alien ships, each larger than the biggest human aircraft carrier, had appeared in Earth's orbit just hours ago. They had moved past all of Earth's outer warning systems without triggering a single alarm. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," said Lieutenant Adams, her voice tight with fear. Marcus nodded. "Put it through." The main screen flickered, and a figure appeared. It looked almost human, but not quite. Tall and thin, with pale blue skin and eyes too large for its face. It wore what appeared to be some kind of armored suit with symbols Marcus didn't recognize. "People of Earth," the alien said in perfect English, "I am Commander Vex of the Dominion Fleet. Your world is now under our protection and control. Resistance is not advised." Marcus felt his heart pound in his chest. Humanity had wondered about alien life for centuries, and now here they were, not as friends, but as conquerors. "Open a channel," Marcus ordered. "This is Captain Marcus Reed of the United Earth Defense Force. We have made no hostile actions against your people. We request peaceful discussion before any claims of control are made." Commander Vex's large eyes blinked slowly. "Discussion is not necessary. Your technology is primitive. Your weapons are useless against us." To demonstrate. Without warning, every satellite around Earth went dark. The Defense Force's orbital platforms shut down one by one. On the bridge of the Defender, screens flickered and went black, then came back online. "That was a small display of our capabilities," Vex continued. "We could have just as easily disabled your life support systems. We choose instead to be merciful." Within 24 hours, world leaders gathered in an emergency session of the United Nations. Marcus sat at the back of the room, watching as politicians argued about what to do. Some wanted to fight, but how could they fight an enemy that could shut down their technology with a thought? When the aliens landed in major cities across the world, there was no real resistance. Their ships touched down in New York, Beijing, London, Moscow, and 20 other locations simultaneously. From each ship came troops in advanced armor and strange floating machines that scanned everything they passed. The message was the same everywhere. "We are here as your benefactors. We will elevate humanity to new heights. Cooperation is mandatory." 3 months later, Marcus walked down a street in what used to be downtown Chicago. It was barely recognizable now. Alien structures rose between the old human buildings, sleek towers of black material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Dominion soldiers patrolled everywhere, their weapons humming with energy beyond human understanding. He passed a processing center, one of hundreds set up around the world. A line of humans waited to enter, their faces showing a mix of fear and resignation. Nobody really knew what happened inside. The Dominion claimed they were screening humans for compatibility with advanced education, but those who came out were changed. They moved differently, spoke differently, as if something essential had been taken from them. Marcus had his suspicions about what the aliens really wanted. His friend Dr. Anna Wells had contacted him a week ago, asking to meet in secret. As he approached the abandoned subway station where she waited, he checked twice to make sure he wasn't followed. Anna looked terrible, thin and tired, with dark circles under her eyes. But there was a fire in those eyes that Marcus hadn't seen in anyone since the invasion. "I found something," she said without greeting. "I think I know what they're doing to people in those processing centers." She showed him pictures smuggled out by a resistance member who had worked as a janitor in one of the facilities. The images made Marcus sick. Humans in clear tanks, strange machines attached to their heads, fluid being extracted from their brains. "They're harvesting us," Anna said. My analysis shows they're taking a specific enzyme from human brain tissue. I think they need it to live longer. God, Marcus whispered. How many people know about this? Not enough. They control all the major communication networks now, but that's not all I found. Anna leaned closer. When I was studying the brain samples, I noticed something unusual about human neural patterns, something I don't think the Dominion knows about. She explained her discovery in scientific terms that went over Marcus's head, but the bottom line was clear. There was something unique about human brains that might, just might, give them a chance to fight back. By 6 months after the invasion, the resistance had grown from scattered individuals to an organized network. They operated from abandoned subway tunnels, old bunkers, and remote buildings that the aliens considered too primitive to bother monitoring. Dr. Anna Wells had set up a makeshift lab in what used to be a storage room in an old hospital basement. Working with salvaged equipment and whatever supplies they could steal from Dominion facilities, she was testing her theory about human neural patterns. It's working, she told Marcus and Jack Torres, a former Army Ranger who now led the resistance cell in Chicago. Look at this. On a small screen, they watched as a simple Dominion scanner, stolen at great cost, malfunctioned when exposed to a specific frequency pattern generated by a human brain. I don't get it, Jack said. What are we seeing? Our brains generate electrical patterns, Anna explained. The Dominion's technology is sensitive to a specific pattern that humans produce naturally, especially when stimulated the right way. It's like feedback between two microphones placed too close together. Can this actually hurt them? Marcus asked. Anna shook her head, not directly. But it can disrupt their technology, and they rely on their technology for everything. Communication, weapons, even their life support systems. Jack leaned forward. So you're saying we found their weakness? Maybe. Anna's eyes were bright with cautious hope. But we need to figure out how to amplify the effect and deliver it effectively. Right now, one human brain can only disrupt Dominion tech within a few feet. We need more power, more range. As they talked, above them, in what remained of Chicago, more humans were rounded up for processing. Commander Vex stood on the observation deck of his ship, looking down at the city with satisfaction. These humans were perfect, their biology exactly what the Dominion needed to extend their lifespans by decades. And the best part, the primitive creatures had no idea they had anything of value. They thought they were powerless. How wrong they were. Winter had come to Chicago, and with it, new hardships. 6 months after the Dominion's arrival, food was scarce. Heat was a luxury. The aliens didn't care if humans were comfortable. They only cared that humans stayed alive long enough to be processed. Jack Torres watched from the shadows as another group of captured humans was marched into the processing center. These roundups were happening more often now. The Dominion was getting greedy. How many today? Asked Marcus, who appeared silently beside him. 50, maybe more, Jack replied, including 3 of our people. Marcus's face hardened. Those who went into the processing centers came out changed. They walked differently, spoke differently. Their eyes looked empty, like something important had been taken from them. Because it had. We need to move faster, Marcus said. Anna thinks she's close to a breakthrough. In the underground lab, Dr. Anna Wells hadn't slept in 2 days. Her small team of scientists, those who had escaped the first roundups, worked tirelessly around her. The lab was cold and damp, but no one complained. They all knew what was at stake. Play it again, Anna said to her assistant, Tom. Tom pressed a button on a salvaged music player. Classical music filled the room. Bach toccata and fugue in D minor. As the powerful notes echoed through the space, Anna watched the readings on her equipment. There, she pointed excitedly. Did you see that spike? The neural patterns displayed on her screen showed unusual activity. When the music hit certain notes, human brains produced specific wave patterns, patterns that created interference with Dominion technology. It's the music, Anna said. Something about these specific sound frequencies triggers our brains to produce stronger neural patterns, patterns that disrupt their tech. So we're what? Going to defeat alien invaders with back? Tom asked, half joking. Anna smiled for the first time in weeks. It sounds crazy, but yes. Music, something the Dominion considers primitive human entertainment, might be our best weapon. When Jack and Marcus arrived at the lab, Anna explained her discovery. The effect is stronger when multiple people hear the same music at once, she said. It creates a kind of resonance. The more humans, the stronger the effect. How do we use this? Jack asked. We can't exactly hold a concert in the middle of a Dominion base. Anna pulled out a small device that looked like an ordinary earpiece, the kind the Dominion allowed humans to use for basic communication. We modified these, she explained. They play the specific frequencies that trigger the neural response, and they also amplify the brain's output. With one of these, a single person can disrupt Dominion tech within about 50 feet. Marcus picked one up, turning it over in his hand. You're saying we can turn humans into walking jammers? Exactly, Anna nodded. And they won't know what's happening until it's too late. Commander Vex was concerned. Production at the Chicago Processing Center had dropped by 15% in the last week. Equipment malfunctions were becoming common. At first, he assumed it was just the inferior Earth materials they were forced to use for repairs. Now he suspected something else. Increased surveillance in sectors 7 through 12. He ordered his second-in-command. Focus on any unusual human gatherings. Yes, Commander, the officer replied. Also, we've detected unusual communication patterns in the old underground transit system. Should we send a patrol? Vex considered this. No. Place monitoring devices at all known entrances. If the humans are hiding down there, I want to know what they're planning before we move in. Jack led a team of 20 resistance fighters through the abandoned subway tunnels. Each person wore one of Anna's modified earpieces. They had trained for this mission for 2 weeks, but everyone was still nervous. This would be their first real strike against the Dominion. Remember the plan, Jack said. We activate the devices when we're within range of the target. We free as many people as we can from the holding area. Then we get out. Don't try to be heroes. The target was a small Dominion outpost that served as a collection point before people were taken to the main processing center. Intelligence suggested about 30 humans were being held there, guarded by only a handful of Dominion soldiers. As they approached the surface, Jack could feel his heart pounding. Devices on in 3, 2, 1. Now. 20 humans reached up and pressed their earpieces simultaneously. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then they heard it, the distinctive sound of Dominion alarm systems, followed by confused shouting. Jack led the team up to the street level. The scene was exactly what Anna had predicted. The Dominion's energy barriers around the building were flickering. The soldiers' weapons were malfunctioning, showing error lights. Even their communication devices were failing. Move in, Jack ordered. The resistance fighters rushed the building. The Dominion soldiers, unused to their technology failing, were caught completely off guard. Within minutes, the outpost was under human control. Jack found the holding cells and released the captives. We're getting you out of here, he told them. Stay quiet and follow us. As they prepared to retreat, Jack heard a familiar voice call his name. His sister Maria was working with another team of fighters to gather Dominion data devices. Jack, we found something big. Files on all the processing centers and what they're doing there. Grab what you can, but hurry, Jack told her. Their backup systems will kick in soon. They were almost clear when the first reinforcements arrived. 3 Dominion transport vehicles appeared at the end of the street, unloading soldiers. Run, Jack shouted. Back to the tunnels. Most of the group made it, but in the chaos, Jack lost sight of Maria. When he did a head count in the safety of the tunnels, she wasn't there. Where's Maria? He asked desperately. One of the other fighters shook his head. They got her, Jack. I saw them take her. The news of the raid spread quickly through the resistance network. For the first time, humans had successfully attacked a Dominion outpost. More importantly, they now had proof of what was happening in the processing centers. In the lab, Anna examined the stolen Dominion devices. "This confirms everything we suspected," she said grimly. "They're extracting a compound from human brains, something they call essence, that extends their lifespans. But we hurt them today," Marcus said. "We showed they're not invincible." On his private command ship, Commander Vex received the report of the raid with cold fury. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "How could their primitive weapons overcome our technology?" "Not weapons, sir," his officer replied. "Our systems just failed, all at once." Vex's eyes narrowed. Perhaps these humans weren't as simple as the Dominion had assumed. "Send a message to the homeworld," he ordered. "Request additional security forces, and find out how they did this." In the resistance base, Jack stared at a photo of himself and Maria. "We'll get her back," Marcus promised, putting a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, we will," Jack replied. "And then we'll make them pay for everything they've done." The resistance had found humanity's hidden strength. Now they needed to use it before the Dominion discovered how to counter it, and before it was too late for Maria and thousands of other captured humans. The main resistance base was busier than ever. The successful raid had brought hope, something in short supply since the Dominion arrived. People moved with new purpose through the old subway tunnels that formed their underground headquarters. In her lab, Anna worked tirelessly to improve the neural amplifiers. The current versions worked, but they had limitations. The range was too short, and the batteries only lasted a few hours. "We need something stronger," she told Marcus as he brought her a rare cup of coffee. "Something that can affect an entire Dominion base at once." "You look like you haven't slept in days," Marcus said. Anna gave a tired smile. "Sleep is for people who aren't being harvested by aliens." Across the room, Tom was examining the Dominion devices they had stolen during the raid. "Anna, you need to see this," he called. The data confirmed their worst fears. The Dominion wasn't just taking humans for the brain enzyme. They were increasing their quotas. According to the files, they planned to process 10,000 humans per week in Chicago alone. "They're getting desperate for this essence," Anna said. "But why the sudden hurry?" The answer came from a new member of the resistance, a human translator who had worked for the Dominion before escaping. "Their soldiers are dying," he explained. "Something about Earth's atmosphere is toxic to them over time. They need more of the enzyme to counteract the effects." Jack Torres had been quiet since Maria's capture. Now he spoke up. "So they're killing more of us because they're dying faster?" "Yes," the translator nodded. "And it's only going to get worse." In the main processing center, Maria Torres sat in a small cell. She had been questioned for hours about the resistance, but had revealed nothing. Now she waited, knowing what happened to prisoners here. A guard appeared at her cell door. "Time for processing," he said in the flat voice all Dominion soldiers used when speaking to humans. As they led her down a long hallway, Maria noticed something strange. Some of the Dominion systems were glitching, lights flickering, doors opening and closing on their own. The guards seemed concerned, checking their weapons more often than usual. They reached a large room filled with clear tanks. In each tank floated a human, connected to machines that hummed softly. Some were still awake, their eyes wide with fear. Others had already gone through the procedure and stared blankly at nothing. Maria felt terror rise in her throat. Then she noticed something else. One of the machines was sparking. As she watched, it shut down completely. The Dominion technicians rushed to fix it, their movements frantic. "What is happening?" one guard asked another. "Unknown," came the reply. "Equipment failures are increasing across all sectors." Maria realized what was happening. The resistance must be close by, using the neural disruptors. She just needed to stall until they arrived. Jack stood before the Resistance Council, outlining his plan. The information we gathered shows that all processed humans are taken to the central facility before being shipped off-world. That means Maria is there, along with hundreds of others. It's too heavily guarded, someone objected. The small outpost was one thing, but the main facility, it's suicide. Not with this, Anna said, revealing a new device. It was larger than the earpieces, about the size of an old smartphone. This is a neural amplifier, version 2. It can boost the disruptive effect by 10 times. One person wearing this can affect Dominion tech within a quarter mile. And I've made 15 of them, Tom added. Jack nodded. We hit them tonight. A small team goes in, disrupts their systems, and frees as many people as possible, including Maria. Marcus looked concerned. The Dominion will know it's us after this. They'll come at the Resistance with everything they have. Let them come, Jack said. It's time we stopped hiding. Commander Vex was furious. More equipment failures, more delays in meeting quotas, and still no explanation. His superiors on the homeworld were demanding results. Find the source of these malfunctions, he ordered. Increase patrols in all sectors. His second-in-command approached hesitantly. Sir, we've detected unusual energy readings in the old transportation tunnels. It could be human activity. Send a squad immediately. Vex commanded. Use the new shielded equipment. If these humans are using some kind of primitive jamming technology, I want samples. And prisoners. The Resistance team was preparing to leave when the alarm sounded. Dominion forces entering the east tunnels. A lookout shouted. How many? Marcus asked. At least 30 with heavy weapons. And their tech is working. Jack and Marcus exchanged grim looks. They've adapted, Marcus said. We need to evacuate. But what about the mission? What about Maria? Jack demanded. Anna grabbed the neural amplifiers. We'll split up. Most people head to the backup base. A small team continues with the original plan. I'm going after Maria, Jack said firmly. And I'm going with you, Marcus replied. As chaos erupted in the tunnels, with people rushing to escape and fighters moving to hold off the Dominion forces, Anna made a discovery that changed everything. The new amplifiers are having an unexpected effect. She told Jack as they prepared to move out. They're not just disrupting the Dominion's technology, they're disrupting the Dominion themselves. What do you mean? Jack asked. Their biology is partly technological, Anna explained. They use internal systems to survive in our atmosphere. The neural disruption affects those systems too. You're saying our weapon can kill them? Marcus asked. Anna nodded slowly. I think so, but we've never used it at this strength before. I don't know exactly what will happen. Jack checked his weapon. We're about to find out. The night was dark and cold as Jack led a team of 10 toward the main processing facility. Each person carried one of Anna's new amplifiers. They moved carefully through side streets, avoiding Dominion patrols. The massive building loomed ahead, surrounded by energy barriers and guard posts. Dominion ships hovered overhead, their lights sweeping the area. Remember the plan, Jack said quietly. We activate the amplifiers simultaneously. When their systems go down, we move in, find the prisoners, and get out. What about the Dominion guards? Someone asked. If Anna's right, they'll be affected too, Jack replied. But be ready for anything. They took positions around the facility, hiding in the shadows of old buildings. Jack looked at his watch. 3, 2, 1. Now. 10 humans pressed buttons on their amplifiers. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the energy barriers around the facility began to flicker. Lights inside the building dimmed and went out. The hovering ships wobbled in the air. And the Dominion guards began to fall. One by one, the alien soldiers collapsed, clutching at their throats or heads. Some managed to fire their weapons, but the shots went wild, the targeting systems failing. It's working, Marcus shouted. Move in. As they rushed the facility, Jack couldn't believe how effective the amplifiers were. The entire complex was in chaos. Dominion officials ran in confusion, many struggling to breathe as their internal systems failed. In the processing room, Maria watched in amazement as her guards fell to the floor, gasping. The machines connected to the human tanks shut down completely. Then the emergency lights kicked in, bathing everything in red. The door burst open, and Jack rushed in. Maria. Brother and sister embraced briefly. "We need to free everyone," Maria said, pointing to the tanks. As the resistance fighters worked to release the captives, alarms blared throughout the facility. "Dominion reinforcements will be coming," Marcus warned. "We need to move." "Not yet," Jack said, looking at the dozens of confused, frightened people they had rescued. "We need to get everyone out first." Suddenly, the main door to the processing room slid open. Commander Vex stood there, flanked by soldiers wearing what looked like heavy protective suits. "Did you really think we wouldn't adapt to your primitive attack?" Vex asked, his voice cold with hate. "These suits shield us from your disruptive signals." Jack raised his weapon, but one of the soldiers fired first. The energy blast hit Jack in the shoulder, spinning him around. Marcus returned fire, forcing the Dominion soldiers to take cover. "Everyone out the back way," Maria shouted to the freed captives. Now, as chaos erupted around them, the battle for humanity's survival entered a new and deadlier phase. Pain shot through Jack's shoulder as he ducked behind a large processing tank. The Dominion energy weapon had burned right through his jacket. Marcus fired back, forcing Commander Vex and his protected soldiers to take cover. "We need to get these people out," Maria shouted, helping the confused former captives toward the back exit. Jack grimaced through the pain. "The amplifiers aren't working on them. Those suits are blocking the signal." "Then we need a stronger signal," Marcus said, firing another burst at the doorway where the Dominion soldiers were regrouping. Jack reached for his radio. "Anna, do you copy? The amplifiers aren't affecting soldiers with protective suits. We need options." Anna's voice crackled over the radio. "Increase the power to maximum. All of you at once. It might overload their shielding." The resistance fighters each adjusted their amplifiers. "On my mark," Jack called. 3, 2, 1. Now. 10 amplifiers surged to maximum power. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Every electronic system in the building failed completely. Even the emergency lights went out, plunging the facility into darkness. From the doorway came sounds of struggling and gasping. When Marcus managed to activate a small flashlight, they saw Commander Vex and his soldiers on their knees. Their protective suits were sparking and smoking. Some soldiers lay completely still, while others clawed at their helmets, desperate for air. Vex looked up, his large eyes filled with hatred, and for the first time, fear. "What have you done?" he gasped. Jack didn't answer. "Everyone move out now. Head for the evacuation point." As the resistance fighters led the freed captives out through the back of the facility, Jack looked back one last time. Commander Vex had stopped moving, his body slumped against the wall. Whether he was dead or just unconscious, Jack couldn't tell. 3 days later, the resistance base was buzzing with activity. The successful raid on the main processing facility had dealt a serious blow to the Dominion. More importantly, it had shown that humans could fight back effectively. In the command center, a repurposed subway station platform, Marcus studied the maps spread across a table. Reports were coming in from resistance cells all over the world. The neural amplifier technology had been shared, and similar raids were being planned globally. Jack entered, his arm in a makeshift sling. "How's Anna doing with the broadcast system?" "Almost ready," Marcus replied. "If it works, we can transmit the neural disruption signal to every radio and speaker in the city. And if every human hears it at once, every piece of Dominion tech in Chicago will fail," Marcus finished. Maria joined them, bringing cups of hot coffee, a luxury since the Dominion's arrival, but resistance raids had secured some supplies. "The people we rescued are starting to recover," she reported. "Some remember everything that happened to them. The Dominion was extracting the enzyme, but keeping most people alive for repeated harvesting. Jack's face hardened. That ends now. Today we take back Chicago. Tomorrow, the world. On his flagship high above the city, Acting Commander Loran reviewed the damage reports with growing concern. Vex was dead, along with a dozen other high-ranking officers. The main processing facility was crippled. Production had fallen to critical levels. Our protective suits failed, a science officer explained. The human disruption technology was stronger than we anticipated. How is this possible? Loran demanded. They are a primitive species. Not as primitive as we thought, the science officer replied cautiously. Their neural patterns are unique, unlike anything we've encountered before, and they found a way to weaponize them. Loran paced the command deck. Accelerate the harvesting schedule. I want all remaining humans in this region processed within 2 days. No exceptions. Sir, that would mean. I know what it means, Loran snapped. Total extraction. No survivors. The humans have forced our hand. When the next shipment of processing equipment arrives from the homeworld, we move to the next region. Yes, Commander. And what about the resistance? Loran's eyes narrowed. Find their base and destroy it. Use orbital weapons if necessary. In her underground lab, Anna made the final adjustments to the broadcast system. It was a complex setup that would hijack the city's remaining radio towers and emergency broadcast systems. The neural disruption signal, embedded in Bach's toccata and fugue in D minor, would play simultaneously across the entire city. It's ready, she told Tom. But I found something else. She pointed to data on her screen. The latest tests show prolonged exposure to the disruption signal is fatal to the Dominion. Not just disruptive, deadly. Tom looked troubled. So we're not just disabling their tech now. We're killing them. They've been killing us for months, Anna replied, though her voice lacked conviction. She had become a scientist to save lives, not take them. Jack and Marcus entered the lab. Is it ready? Jack asked. Anna nodded. Yes, but there's something you should know. She explained her discovery about the lethal effects of prolonged exposure. Marcus looked at Jack. This changes things. We're talking about an all-out attack now, not just a defensive measure. Jack was silent for a moment, remembering the processing facility, the humans floating in tanks, their lives being drained away. They didn't give us a choice, he said finally. This is survival. At noon, resistance fighters took positions around the city. Each carried a small radio tuned to the resistance frequency. Their mission was simple but crucial. When the neural disruption began, they would help civilians reach safety and target any Dominion forces not affected by the signal. In Dominion bases across Chicago, alien soldiers prepared for their final push to round up the remaining humans. Loran had ordered all-out efforts, with no concern for keeping the harvesting secret anymore. Speed was all that mattered now. In the Resistance Command Center, Anna sat at the broadcast controls. Ready whenever you are, she told Jack. Jack looked at the faces around him. Marcus, Maria, Tom, and dozens of others who had fought against impossible odds. Send it, he said. Anna pressed the button. Across Chicago, every working speaker, radio, and communication device began playing Bach's powerful music. The effect was immediate. Dominion ships hovering above the city wobbled in the air, some crashing into buildings. Energy barriers around alien facilities flickered and died. Weapons systems failed, and the Dominion soldiers began to fall. Loran was in mid-sentence when the music started playing through the flagship's communication system. What is that noise? He demanded. Then pain shot through his head as his internal breathing apparatus failed. Around him, the command crew collapsed one by one. With his last strength, Loran activated the emergency distress beacon. As darkness closed in, he sent one final message to the Dominion homeworld. Humans, more dangerous than we knew. Avoid Earth at all costs. On the streets of Chicago, Humans emerged from hiding places to see Dominion soldiers and officials lying motionless. The massive alien ships hung dead in the air, their engines silent. After months of fear and helplessness, the city belonged to humanity again. But the war was far from over. The Dominion had bases all over the world, and reinforcements were surely on the way from their homeworld. The resistance would need to move quickly to spread the technology and prepare for what came next. As Bach's music continued to play across the city, Jack looked at the sky where the Dominion ships had once moved freely. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly. Marcus nodded. "But now they know. They thought we were powerless. And we had a deadly surprise," Maria finished. 1 week after Chicago's liberation, the pattern repeated across the globe. London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing, New York. City after city broadcast Bach's music, and city after city was freed from Dominion control. Humanity had found its weapon, and nothing could stop its spread. In the Chicago Command Center, now moved to an above-ground building that once housed a radio station, Jack, Marcus, Anna, and Maria gathered around a global map. Green lights showed liberated cities, while red indicated areas still under Dominion control. "Most major population centers are free," Marcus said, "but the Dominion still holds their main headquarters here." He pointed to a massive complex outside of Denver. "That's where they're coordinating from," Jack said. "And according to the intel we gathered, they've set up some kind of defense against our neural weapon there." Anna studied the satellite images of the facility. "They've built jamming towers around the perimeter. Our broadcast won't reach inside." "Then we need to get inside," Maria said simply. "A team with amplifiers, right in their command center." Jack nodded slowly. "A direct attack on their headquarters. They won't be expecting that." "It's suicide," Marcus warned. "Not if we all go," Jack replied. "Not if we bring everything we have." High above Earth, the Dominion Fleet Commander Zan reviewed the catastrophic reports from the surface. In less than 2 weeks, their entire operation had collapsed. Processing centers destroyed, ships grounded, soldiers dead. How could this happen? He demanded of the few surviving officers who had escaped to orbit. How could primitive humans defeat our technology? No one had a satisfying answer. Their initial scans of Earth had shown humans to be technologically inferior, biologically compatible for harvesting, and militarily weak. Nothing had suggested they could develop a weapon that attacked the very foundation of Dominion technology and biology. The emergency signal from Acting Commander Loran mentioned a neural attack, one science officer said. Something about human brain patterns being weaponized. Zan made his decision. "Prepare the cleansing protocol. If we cannot harvest this world, we will sterilize it. Begin bombardment of major population centers immediately." "Sir," his second-in-command said hesitantly, "should we not wait for approval from the homeworld?" "There is no time," Zan snapped. "The humans are spreading their weapon globally. We must act now, or lose everything." On Earth, the Resistance's plan came together quickly. Teams from across America converged on Denver, bringing weapons, vehicles, and neural amplifiers. It would be humanity's largest coordinated attack, a direct assault on the heart of the Dominion's Earth operation. Meanwhile, Anna had made another discovery. "We can broadcast the neural disruption signal through the satellites we've recaptured," she explained to the leadership team. "Not just to Earth, but to the Dominion ships in orbit." "Will it reach that far?" Jack asked. "I think so," Anna replied. "Their ships are designed to receive signals from the surface. We can use their own communication network against them." As preparations continued, a Resistance intelligence team intercepted a Dominion transmission. Marcus burst into the planning room, his face grim. "We have a problem. The Dominion ships in orbit are preparing to bombard the planet. They're going to try to wipe us out completely." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Dominion energy weapons could turn cities to ash in seconds. "How long do we have?" Jack asked. "Hours, maybe less," Marcus replied. Jack looked at the assembled team leaders. Then we move now. We hit their headquarters, take control of their communication array, and broadcast the signal to their orbital fleet before they can fire. No one needed to be told what failure would mean. The Denver complex was massive. A sprawling collection of black structures surrounded by energy barriers and patrolled by Dominion soldiers in protective suits. The jamming towers stood at regular intervals around the perimeter, blocking any attempt to broadcast the neural disruption signal from outside. The resistance attack began at dawn. Hundreds of fighters in commandeered vehicles charged the main gates from all sides. The Dominion forces responded immediately, their energy weapons cutting through the first wave of attackers. But this was just a distraction. While the main force engaged the Dominion soldiers at the gates, smaller teams approached from underground, using old maintenance tunnels that the aliens had deemed too primitive to guard properly. Jack led one of these teams, with Marcus, Maria, and Anna close behind. Each carried a neural amplifier set to maximum power. Their goal was the central communication tower that linked the headquarters to the orbital fleet. Remember, Jack told his team as they prepared to emerge from the tunnels, we only need to get close enough for the amplifiers to work. Then we fight our way to the tower. They emerged inside the perimeter, behind the main Dominion defenses. Alarms were already blaring as the frontal assault drew the aliens' attention. Now, Jack ordered. 20 humans activated their neural amplifiers simultaneously. The effect was immediate. Nearby Dominion soldiers stumbled and fell. Doors that should have been locked slid open. Defense systems shut down. The team raced toward the central tower, encountering surprisingly little resistance. Most of the Dominion forces had been drawn to the gates. "It's working better than we expected," Marcus said as they reached the tower's entrance. "Too well," Maria replied suspiciously. "This feels like a trap." She was right. As they entered the main communication center, they found it heavily guarded by Dominion soldiers in new, thicker protective suits. At the center of the room stood Commander Zan, his tall figure imposing even for a Dominion officer. "Humans," he said, his voice cold. "Did you think we wouldn't adapt to your primitive attack?" Jack raised his amplifier. "Now," he shouted. Nothing happened. The enhanced protective suits were working. Zan laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. "Your neural disruption is useless here. And in minutes, our ships will begin the cleansing of your world." "Plan B," Jack said quietly. Anna stepped forward, holding what looked like a small music player. "We thought you might improve your protection," she said to Zan. "So we brought something special." She pressed a button, and powerful speakers hidden in the team's backpacks came to life. The music that filled the room wasn't Batch this time, but something new, a composition Anna had created specifically for this moment, combining frequencies that no protective suit could block. The effect was devastating. The Dominion soldiers dropped their weapons, clutching their heads. Zan fell to his knees, his internal systems failing catastrophically. Anna rushed to the communication console. "Cover me," she shouted as she worked to connect their broadcast system to the Dominion's network. Marcus and the others formed a protective circle around her, firing at any Dominion soldier who still moved. "Hurry," Jack urged. Their ships could start firing any minute. "Almost there," Anna replied, her fingers flying over the alien controls. "Got it." She activated the broadcast. The neural disruption signal, embedded in her special composition, shot upward, transmitted through the Dominion's own communication network directly to their orbital fleet. In space, the Dominion ships were powering up their energy weapons when the signal reached them. One by one, their systems failed. Lights went out. Engines died. Life support systems collapsed. The massive vessels drifted helplessly in orbit, their crews incapacitated or dead. Earth was saved. In the Denver headquarters, Jack stood over the fallen Commander Zan. "You chose the wrong planet to invade," he said. Zan looked up, struggling to breathe as his systems failed. "How?" he gasped. "You were primitive," powerless. No, Jack replied. You just didn't understand what true power is. It isn't your weapons or your technology. It's here. He tapped his temple. In the human mind, the one thing you tried to harvest from us became your downfall. As resistance forces secured the Dominion headquarters, Anna accessed their communication records. They sent a message to their homeworld, she reported, warning them about us. Marcus smiled grimly. Good. Let them know that Earth is off limits. In the months that followed, humanity rebuilt. The Dominion technology, now harmless without its alien operators, was studied and adapted for human use. The neural amplifier technology that had saved the world was refined for peaceful purposes, accelerating human advancement by decades. Earth established its first interstellar defense network, using repurposed Dominion satellites. They broadcast a simple message to the stars, Bach toccata and fugue in D minor, followed by a warning in the Dominion language. Earth is protected. Approach at your own risk. The message was clear to any who might think of Earth as an easy target. Humans might look primitive, but appearances can be deceiving. They once thought we were powerless. They will never make that mistake again.